Everybody wants us to use their browser. Google wants us to use Chrome. Apple wants us to use Safari. The folks at Firefox want us to use the Firefox browser. There's the Brave browser. Microsoft has the Edge browser. Everybody's got a browser, and they give it to us for free, and they want us to use it, and they invest a lot in making them work. Doesn't that concern you? It concerns me. But the browser has become such an important part of our own personal productivity system. We all use a browser on a daily basis. It is our window to the online world, and they've become a chameleon of sorts. Browsers morph and change their capabilities depending on the tasks that we place in front of them. And as we add more capabilities to the internet in general, browsers need to modify in order to take advantage of or to give us access to new features and new tools. Consequently, the browser that we get when we download a browser from any service provider is just the vanilla version. We take that browser and we modify it. That's what we're going to look at today, is we're going to discover how to build a better browser. I am really glad that you are with me today, and I hope that you're going to get a lot of value out of this. So what we'll do is we'll start by talking about installing extensions and adding additional capabilities to your web browser, where you find those capabilities and how they're installed in all the web browsers, because as I say, it's a very similar process. And then we'll spend a little bit of time talking about the different types of add-ons that you can do. Basic extensions, which I'm going to start with, but we'll also talk about something called web apps, which are more advanced kind of full environments where your entire web browser changes to be much more like an application rather than your utility. But we'll start with this additional functionality, these utilities that you add to your browser. This is my Chrome browser open up, and I use Chrome a substantial percentage of the time, but I try and switch back and forth between all the browsers just so that I can test them out a lot. I think most of us will have one main browser and then kind of a backup browser, because sometimes some applications work better in one browser rather than another browser. And so you're going to want to be at least functional in, I would say, two browsers is a good way to do things. So we'll start with Chrome, which is the most popular current browser in the marketplace, and you see it and you recognize it. It looks very similar, I'm sure, to your own setup. Now, I've customized mine somewhat, where I've got my favorites bar here along the bottom, which are the websites like my bookmarks that I use on a regular basis. But up here in the top, right beside the search bar, are all of the add-ons or all of the plugins, the extensions that I've added into Chrome that I use on a daily basis. Now, I'll talk you through what my favorite ones are, but you'll see as we go through all of the browsers that there's a consistency. I use the Evernote Web Clipper, I use LastPass, I use Grammarly, I use Agorapulse. There's a series of these that I use, and you can see them all here. Now, because I test so many different browser extensions, etc., I've got tons of them that I've downloaded. Now, with your browser, you can always access your extensions through multiple different menu options. You can always, within your browser, go under the Preferences menu, and within Preferences, you will find extensions in Chrome or some similar name in the other browsers. Similarly, if you don't want to go through that menu there, most of the browsers now have a kind of a pop-out or a menu system in the top of the menu bar here that allows you to go into your settings here, or in my case here, I've got this little extension that's like a little puzzle piece that tells you that it's extensions. This allows me quick access to go in and manage the extensions that I've installed in my browser. So let's start there, because I don't want to show off, but as you can see, I have a lot of extensions installed. But notice, very few of them are toggled on. The ones that are blue are actually enabled on my browser. The rest of them are turned off, and I've just installed them at different times to test them. And then I haven't removed them because sometimes I need to go back because I'm answering a question that somebody has and I want to enable them for some reason. But this is the library of extensions. This just gives you like a sample of how many extensions, how much functionality you can add to your browser. Now, if I wanted to add something new that wasn't installed here already, I would simply go under the menu and I would go to the Chrome store. Apple has its own store, Safari has its, Firefox has its own store, but I would go to one of these stores and I would search for the extension that I want to install. Once it's installed, usually it's automatically available in the browser and it will appear back here in the top menu bar or wherever the browser extensions appear in your web browser. So let me show you. Let's do it. But instead of doing it in Chrome, instead, let's go over into, let me see, I'm in Safari here, Brave, I've got 3 browsers. Let's go into Firefox, because looking at Firefox, I don't use Firefox as much, but I see that I've only got LastPass installed. I don't have very many browser extensions installed here. So let's see if we can walk through installing one of the browser extensions that I like to use. Well, let's install my grammar checker. Let's install Grammarly, which I use because I always make typos and I always need correction. So Grammarly installs, and what it does is then it adds some extra functionality when I'm in any browser window, when I'm doing email or anything in my browser or writing a response, it's checking the grammar for me, which saves me from embarrassment on a regular basis. So I'm going, remember how I mentioned that there's always the toolbar now on the right-hand side? I'm going over here and clicking on the hamburger menu, which pops this down, and I can see right here, add-ons. And I click on the add-ons, and now I can personalize Firefox. This has taken me to Firefox's own extension store. So I'm going to just type in here a quick search, and I'm going to type in Grammarly, and hit return, and let's see the results. There it is. Grammarly for Firefox comes up. I click on it, and this is how easy it is to install. I click Add to Firefox. Now, in a lot of cases, the functionality will automatically be there. In other cases, you have to log in. You can see here, it isn't active yet. I have to activate Grammarly, and it's logged in. Just as a complete sidebar, you see what's happened here is all of the web browsers now, when you log in to any accounts, they try and save your password strings for you in their own password manager. This is something that I highly recommend you don't do. Don't do this in Chrome, don't do this in Brave, don't do this in Safari, don't do this in Firefox, don't do this in Edge, don't do this in any of the applications. I would vastly prefer that we all use a proper password manager. 1Password, LastPass, KeePass. Use a dedicated password manager rather than relying on the password manager built into the web browser. It's not their specialty. Security is simply not their specialty. Instead, let's use a company whose security is their specialty, like a dedicated password tool. Back to our regularly scheduled programming now. I'm going to actually say here, never save. There we go. But now you can see that it has been installed and it's available for me as I work. Now, a tool like Grammarly will constantly monitor what's happening as you're typing into different text boxes in your browser, and it will do spell checking and it will do grammar checking for you, and it will look for typos and that sort of stuff, and it will alert you when you make them. So this is a case where it's not an application that we use, but a service that helps to support whatever activity we're on. Most of the extensions that we use within our browser, when we build a better browser, most of the extensions that we use will be just this sort of tool, where they add some functionality at different times to make our browser a little bit more useful. And that can, in my case, the ones that I use the most and are most popular, I'm going to just head back to Chrome here, are things like LastPass, which is my password manager, which is always available, but only when I log in. I only use it for a very short period of time every day if I'm logging into a brand new account. A tool like Evernote. Now, we've got videos on Evernote. I won't go into detail with you on what the Evernote Web Clipper does, but the Evernote Web Clipper will allow me to capture and to grab a screenshot of a different site that I'm at, to take a picture and to snap that information so that I can save it for the future. So I use it as a research tool. Grammarly, which we've already explained. I use the Agora Pulse plugin, which when I'm visiting a website allows me to quickly socially share, to create a tweet or to create a post, a quick post from something that I happen to see that is of universal interest to my community. So adding little bits of functionality, and that extends sometimes into dedicated applications. So if you, for example, I use YouTube. I publish on YouTube all of the time. I have 2 tools that are extensions, that are accounts that I've signed up for, that add to the functionality of YouTube as a publisher in YouTube. One of them is called TubeBuddy, and the other is called vidIQ. And when I go to my YouTube dashboard, so this probably looks a little bit different than yours. This is a content creator's dashboard. But you see here at the top, I've got these 2 extra menus that you wouldn't have if you were just signing up and you didn't have the extensions installed. This one here is from vidIQ, and it gives me a snapshot of all of the different analytics that's happening at that particular moment within the last hour or so on my channel. So I can see how many views I've had in the last period of time, and I can see all of those different trends. And over here, we've got the TubeBuddy add-on as well. And both of them also appear not just on my main page, but when I'm in actually editing and creating my content for my browser, they're in providing content and a suggestion. So for example, if I go down here, this might look a little bit busy, but trust me, this is very valuable. Down here, this is telling me about the different tags and the amount of searches that are done on all of the different tags that I have. And these little colored icons, they come from TubeBuddy and they come from vidIQ, and they're telling me where my video ranks in search for those particular terms and what the velocity of search is for those different terms. So I have built a better browser for myself by using extensions that are relevant to the tasks that I have on a daily basis. Now, if you're not a YouTube content creator, these particular extensions will do you no good, but LastPass is probably useful to you. Grammarly is probably useful to you. You might even decide to have fun and install something like the Bitmoji extension, which allows you to access your Bitmoji account so you can put funny little graphics in if you're posting comments on Facebook, etc. You get the idea. Basically, browser extensions extend the capability of your browser. Now, that's the basic story on browser extensions. But increasingly, as the web functionality is increased overall, we're starting to see something called web apps as well. Now, a web app is like an extension on steroids. It's a far more powerful version of an extension. I guess one of the best examples of a web app would be if you use Gmail within the browser. When you go into Gmail, you have all sorts of different menus and different options that are available to you right within the Gmail app or within Google Docs as you're working in a word processor, or the spreadsheet app in Google Sheets. Those are all web apps, and many companies are now building full applications built around a browser engine. So you will sometimes get a little bit confused, I think, between what's a web app and what is a browser extension. But the easiest way to kind of understand it, I think, is extensions will appear here in the menu bar as an add-on within your browser. Web apps are sites that you visit that have full functionality. You feel like you're in a real application. That might not be technically 100% the way that they define it online, but it's the easiest way that you and I can understand the difference between web apps and browser extensions and understand where they fit. Now, this brings us to the point of making a decision. If you're going to build a better browser, which browser should you be building a better version of? Because there are so many to choose from. I mean, we've just here shared with you a little bit about Chrome. We've also got Firefox installed. We have Safari, which is the Mac-only one, installed. We have the Brave browser installed, which is gaining traction on an ongoing basis and is really the darling of the internet today. Firefox, there's all of these different choices. Microsoft has finally abandoned the ill-fated Internet Explorer and now has Edge. So how do we make the decision on which browser is going to be the one that we want to invest our time and energy in? I think that there's three main points, and your order might be slightly different than the order that I'm going to share this in, and most certainly it will probably be different, but I think it comes down to stability and compatibility, speed, and privacy and security. Those are the three big selling points that the different browser companies or the different browser manufacturers are going to celebrate their product based on. And let's begin with stability and compatibility, because that's the one that's most important to me. So stability and compatibility means which applications are you using that the browser is most stable with. We've delivered hundreds of webinars in the past, and different browsers would work well with different webinar packages. So often my main browser would be chosen based on which one worked best with which webinar package I was working on. Now that's gone by the wayside. Of course, now since we're live streaming this, it doesn't matter as much anymore, but that's been replaced by which browser works best with our framework tool, the tool that we use for building our website. The tool that we're using is having some issues with Google Chrome right now, so we have to have Safari, or not Safari, excuse me, we have to use Firefox with it in order for it to work really well. It performs best in Firefox. So depending if you have a specialty application that you use that works best with one flavor of a browser, which will often be the case, that will be one of your decision-making points on choosing one of your browsers if you follow my rule of kind of having a two-browser rule, so you always can have some options. Stability and compatibility, number one. The second is performance. Some of the browsers really bog down. Now, this is less of an issue with fairly modern computers. The horsepower that we have in our desktop computers today is so profound that it overcomes many of the issues that people have with their browser. And almost without fail, when you install a new browser, everybody goes, it's so snappy and fast. Well, of course it is, because you haven't installed all of the different plugins and add-ons that are going to start to slow it down that you will have done after a period of time. But people are always looking for a faster browser. You're always going to find lots and lots of reports online of which is the fastest browser. And if that's really important to you, speed might be a consideration. But for most people, the major consideration is the amount of privacy and security that a browser provides. And that's where a browser like the Brave browser is really rising to the top of the heap as far as a lot of people are concerned, because it is built first and foremost with a philosophy of providing additional privacy to the people who use the browser. And a lot of that privacy is how well other services are able to track your web wanderings through cookies and monitoring your different wanderings online. Brave steps up and says, we are going to protect your privacy above all. And a lot of people appreciate that. And so as you're making your decision, you'll have to make a decision based on, or one of the criteria you'll make your decision on is based on how much privacy a browser is going to provide you. But if you're looking at that, then you also have to recognize that there are other things that you can do within the browser environment that can increase your privacy. One of the places that most of us feel most at risk as far as privacy is concerned, or most maybe abused as far as privacy is concerned, is when we do web searches. When we go to Google and we do a web search, how Google tends to then, how we suddenly start getting ads and Facebook and all these other places based on the searches that we've done online. Now you can close some of that down by limiting cookies and by using a tool like the Brave browser, but just the web tool, just the search tool that you use can also make a difference. And here's where you can customize your browser in ways that you might stay with an existing browser, but increase your privacy. Allow me to show you. All the browsers have this capability within them. I'm in Chrome right now. If I go into preferences, if I do a web search in Chrome, I'm going to go to Google, as you would expect. But if I go here in my settings and I choose search engine, watch what Google gives me, or watch what Chrome gives me the option. It allows me to manage and to use, rather than Google as my main search engine, it allows me to use Microsoft's Bing search engine, or DuckDuckGo, which is a very much more secure and private search engine that's available, which we also, by the way, have a video on YouTube, which I will share with you, which shows you how you can protect your privacy more by choosing the search engine. So regardless of which browser you use, you have the ability to be able to choose. I'm in Safari here. Guess what I can do in Safari? I go into Preferences in Safari, and look, it has the exact same option. Go into Search, I can choose DuckDuckGo or Google or Yahoo if I want to search. Well, you want to see more examples? Let's go into the Brave browser itself, the famous mentioned Brave browser. And we go in there and we go into Search Engine, and we can choose the different search engines. So you have control over so many different aspects of your online wanderings when you start to customize your browser and when you start to look in and see exactly what you have control of, regardless of which browser you choose. Now, let me wrap things up. We're getting a little bit long here, so I promised that I would tell you what my favorite browser extensions are that I use, and it's a very vanilla list, if it be honest. I hope I don't disappoint anybody, but the ones that I install first, the first two that I install without fail is LastPass and the Evernote Web Clipper, and we have videos on both of those where I talk about the Evernote Web Clipper for doing research and LastPass for managing all of my different passwords. Then I installed Grammarly because I'm a terrible speller, and it's the tool that I trust and that I use to help improve and reduce the number of typos that I have in all of my communications. I install Agora Pulse, which allows me to share in social and especially in Twitter, different interesting things that I find with my community. So, and that is it as far as my general classic extensions. Then more specific ones for distinct products, I install a tool called Mixmax, which again we have a video on, which is a very light CRM for Gmail that allows me to do templates for Gmail and to track conversations within Gmail and to help kind of stay on top of my conversations in Gmail. So it's Mixmax, which is the tool specifically for Gmail. I also installed TubeBuddy and vidIQ, which help me publishing my YouTube videos more effectively, making sure I have the proper search, the proper keywords and the proper tags, and that I'm monitoring and I'm evaluating my analytics more effectively. So those are the tools that I installed. Links to everything that I talked about are in the description below, and that will wrap things up for today. If you have not yet subscribed to our channel, what the heck are you waiting for? Please subscribe, and while you're at it, ring that notification bell to make sure you hear about any new videos that we have upcoming. And if you have a moment, giving us a thumbs up or a comment is always appreciated as well. Till next time, I'm Steve Dotto. Have fun storming a castle.